We are live. Welcome to the RedBlue Pod number 26. And we got our co host as usual. You can now present yourself.
Yeah, Cole, as always, it's going to be a shorter episode because we're only doing two topics and I also have to do something later, so
For once, it's working out, you know? Bad luck happens, but bad luck is fine sometimes. So, how are your holidays?
um alright. I mean, could be better, but I mean, think you could say that if anything.
That's good. So, I guess that's the last Red Blue Pod in 2022. This is the end of the year, and I hope 2023 will be better for everyone because I know the start of the year was kind of rough with the illness that spread out 2 years ago. So, when you look back to 2022, did you thought it was a good year, a bad year for you?
It's pretty mid-year, but maybe above mid. Like, there's definitely been way worse years.
Yeah, it was a. I actually agree with you. It was a very mid year.
Yeah, for me,
Uh,
it was mainly coming down to the end, which was the worst parts.
yeah, lots of things going on with your life. You moved around a lot. Uh, at least you traveled, you know. That's better than a lot
Yeah,
of people.
I
So,
guess.
um, let's start off with Black Swan. So, what did you thought of the movie?
Yeah, I really love this film. I don't know where it exactly ranks between like Requiem for a Dream and The Wrestler because I love those films a lot as well. But yeah, I thought this was an amazing film. Again, Darren Aronofsky is a amazing director when it comes to like character studies, and this was yet another one. When I first was watching it, like I rewatched it before the stream, and on my first watch, I had some doubts because, which was years ago, because I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Natalie Portman, and that's still the case today. I think she's a good actress for sure, definitely a good one, always, serviceable, but I never think she's really above that in films and always kind of the weakest link outside of like maybe like three or four films. However, this is the one film in her career which is an exception because she was masterful in this, in my opinion. And yeah, I thought there were some amazing dark elements, very entertaining, amazing direction. It just keeps going crazier and crazier, and that climax was fantastic. What do you think?
I actually agree with pretty much everything you said so far, but I do know I liked more the wrestler. But nonetheless, I think I was very entertained. At first, when the movie first started, I was like, this will be a rough one. But as the movie went on, I actually started enjoying it a lot. I was entertained by the end, and I enjoyed the trip. And for once, Natalie Portman feels like she's doing a good job, you know?
Yeah, rarity. I mean, like always serviceable. I just never like it's only really been like three other films I thought she was better than just solid, which is probably maybe V for Vendetta, Closer, and like one other maybe. And but then yeah, this one was just like I don't know where this came from, but I mean Darren Aronofsky is usually good with directing actors to these performances though, so it doesn't surprise me. Like again, we saw what he did with Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler, and now he took another actor who was considered washed up with Brendan Fraser with his new film coming out, which we'll watch when it's out digitally, which people are now saying he should win an Oscar for. So I guess it's just his thing to take actors who have some either a bit washed up or not the most amazing and then just directing them to these performances.
You know, that's funny because you brought up Viva Vendetta, and I've seen that movie many years ago, but I didn't even remember Natalie Portman being in it.
Oh yeah. If you want, we could like maybe because one of the two things ones I was planning for this week was gonna be I believe Sin City. If you want, we could throw that in as well if you want to revisit it for next week.
Yeah, that could be a good idea. Sin City next week. Yeah, that could be a great idea actually. Yeah. So Sin City next week.
Yeah, Sin City and V for Vendetta. Yeah.
Perfect. That could be two great topics. And I remember liking V for Vendetta a lot. I cannot wait to rewatch it today because, as I said, it's been many years I have seen the movie, so I wasn't as critical back in the day, but I still like the movie a lot. So I think I will like it even more today, you know? So that's
Yeah,
actually a great idea.
for sure. Sadly, it was kind of like a one-hit wonder by the director because he hasn't really done much after. I mean, that Ninja Assassin is kind of entertaining, but that's about it. Yeah, but I agree. It was pretty excellent like that in Sin City. Considered, you have some pretty unique out of the comic book films over the years, I would say. And yeah, some of the better ones. Definitely love Dark Horse comics, so that's always good.
So, as usual, I will start off with my issues with Black Swan. So,
Yeah.
the
Oh, I'd
first.
say I wanted to quickly ask you though on the topic of Dark Horse and like Sin City and stuff. Have you ever seen the Umbrella Academy, that show?
No, actually, that was a plan I had in the future. But we could actually cover it after Legion.
Yeah. I
Because
mean, sure if you want,
instead
but
of Luke
yeah,
Cage, because I've seen Luke Cage many years ago, but the Umbrella Academy, I've heard about it a lot of the YouTuber I follow, I've seen it, and I've heard good stuff about it. So that could be actually a good idea after Legion. Have you
yeah.
seen all of the season of the Umbrella Academy?
No, I haven't seen it at all yet.
So
I just I heard it's great, and yeah, it's by Dark Horse Comics as well. So
so after Legion, next week we get the last season of Legion. So 2 weeks from now we could cover the first season of Umbrella Academy. That could
yeah, we can
be
definitely do that
the next one. So yeah, that will be interesting.
for
I'm
sure.
actually
But
curious.
anyway, so your issues, I guess,
Yeah,
continue.
with Black Swan, man, as I said, early the movie it was rough. So I point out pacing. I did thought the first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie was very long, and I don't think you can cut 30 minutes. I think that's a bit too much. Maybe you could cut 10 to 15 minutes out of that bunch, but that still affected
Yeah.
my viewing experience because I'm like, what's the point of that movie? I'm
Well,
watching it. I'm watching it.
I definitely see what you mean. That's definitely like my least favorite section of the film. But I think the point of that section was to yeah give you like like basic setup and like a more grounded feel, and that already feels darker. Like it that makes you go how darker can it get, and then it keeps going up and up from there. So it's sort of like like a roller coaster. There's the start, starting, and then it goes
Yeah,
up the hill slowly. That's what I consider like the first 30 minutes to be kind of.
yeah. So after that, why does she go at her boss place, knowing what he intend on doing? Because he basically forced a kiss on her, or maybe that was the unreliable narrator. Maybe he never really kissed her because I have doubt. Because at the end of the movie, you realize she's unreliable. Like,
Well, I mean, I think she's desperate for the role, and also I don't know if she quite knows like what his motive, like what he is unpredictable for sure. So I mean,
so here I mentioned unreliable narrator. That's actually a strength of that movie because I think it could bring a rewatch value for anybody invested into the story and the character and see what's true and what's a lie about what's going on in the movie. Now, I feel like there's a lot of things that are crystal clear true and a few things that are lies. And that's a strength there, but I'm still wondering like that doesn't feel right, you know. Even if she was desperate to get the role, it still feels like there's something off about that, you know. And that's how I
Well,
feel when I was watching. I was like, I get it, she wanted the role, but if she wanted the role, why did she bid in him? You know, I understand why she did. She did the right thing. But if she really wanted the role,
I think the first time around was like more of like going there to try to like convince him maybe to like give her another like attempt after being interrupted, but then and then that he did that, and then bit him, and then she thought, okay, I lost the role, and then she was shocked, when she found out she got the role, and then and with that one scene, and then realizing like that's what he wanted to just show some aggressiveness, I guess. I don't know. And then I think they had the other times around. Yeah, again, it's unpredictable, so not really for sure, and also maybe not like doesn't expect him to do some stuff in like certain environments in comparison to his office. So that's what I got about out of it, and why I thought
so a bit
But
late.
I'm glad they didn't. I will say I'm glad they didn't just make him like a cliche, like complete like predator character throughout like the whole film, and that was like the premise of the film. I'm glad they didn't go with that, and it was just like a side thing add on to it, because that would have been cliche. I'm glad that wasn't the main focus.
I'm also glad that wasn't the main focus. I will agree with what you just said, but I was still very bothered by that whole character. I didn't mark it down as in my notes because I knew it. I was really bothered by the character. It didn't felt like a character that has dimension. He is just a character that is a prick. That's what he is, you know. And
I mean, to be fair, I think the dimension comes from like we see in a lot of gymnastics, coaches who also have now been canceled with the shit they've done, and we've seen it in like a lot of filmmakers, directors, like are yelling at like their actors on set and stuff. I think it's like a prick as well, but also because they think that's the way to do things, and the like I'm not, I wouldn't say like one dimensional, but I do see what you're saying, but I do understand like what the intent of the character was there, and with like the ending and everything.
it was still like it was still well done, but and I know it's realistic. Things happen like that in real life, and there's a lot of things we don't know about. So I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying, man, that character just feels like a villain for a drama and nothing more. That's all I felt toward that character, because he was there just to be to add more drama, you know, and it's kind of fine because it's a drama, but I still don't really like the way they use that character. It could have been worse if that was the main focus. I would have been really pissed. So I think they used him well. I just didn't like the character at all. And even if the intent was him to be that kind of villain, I just feel like that kind of stuff is already done and overdone, you know? Like, it's done better than some other cases, but it's not unique. It's not something new, you know? And that's fine because it's really hard to do groundbreaking stuff, and it's really hard to create new stories. But him being such a huge part of that story and being something I've already seen many times, it's not the worst time, but it's not the best time. So I need to point that out, you know. Um, Now, this leads back to her accepting to stay later after everyone left. He was already like, it was a weirdo, man. It just feels like the main character wants to get in trouble, you know? That's how I feel, and I don't think that was the intent of the movie. She does many things in the movie, and like, that character, man, she really wants trouble. That's just how I feel. Like her saying yes, I want to stay alone with you. There,
Well, she is going crazy, so
yeah. But she's going crazy much later in the movie. But at that point, she's not really there yet. But yeah. Um,
well, I do think those elements are like more of like I think like the beginning stuff is really like shows like the environment and everything, and like it isn't the best, and that's what might have started it and keeps elevating like the environment and like everyone around her.
so my next issue was at the bar. She sees the other girl placing something in her drink, but she's still up to drink it. I was like, what? Why?
Because she knows what it is, and she knew it was just that 2 hour thing. So, but yeah, never taken it before, so never knew the effects. So I was in a wake up like like an hour into it, like holy shit.
I still think it's really, really dumb, and it bothered me a lot. I was like, she's running after trouble. If she wants trouble, she want drama, and like my. So these are they may seem small issues, but for me they are kind of big because I'm like that took me out of the movie. I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way
But
someone would really
I
do
think
that.
the drink part, I'll be honest, I think it's mainly because like with everybody else that was around her, she thought maybe she's different, maybe all this is for her benefit.
But that's even worse. What if I'm being paranoid, maybe? But what
I
if
don't know,
the
but to an extent, though, it also kind of was because she was kind of imagining, like, yeah, like pretty much all of that, like, her like trying to steal her role and everything. It was all in her imagination.
yeah?
So, but yeah,
So that's it with my issues. I will say, after the first half an hour, when the movie picked up, it was very interesting. I was entertained. I liked it. Uh, when she got the role and she was happy with her mother and stuff, that was a great start. And when you get to realize more about the mother, all she is just all about her daughter success. By the end of the movie, you realize that may be a misconception. You realize maybe Nina thinks her mother that's all she wants, but she want more, but she doesn't see it. So I like that aspect of it. Like all she sees when she sees her mother is someone that is strict that wants her to succeed. But in fact, the mother is a bit more than that. But the daughter doesn't really see that. So I think that relationship
yeah,
between the both of them was
yeah,
great.
and it's also realistic because this happens a lot, especially in dancing and ballet, for sure, where it's like a parent will like they'll have that dream and then they don't accomplish it for reasons like in her mother's case, and then it's like they'll try to input that into their kid and to see it through them.
I also like the horror aspect where Nina sees ghosts when she's imagining things. That was well done, I think. And that told
Oh
us
yeah.
that you cannot really trust what's going on with Nina, except if someone else outside of Nina says something that breaks like that world she's trying to build for herself. I also like the subway scene, and the subway scene was one of the first few scenes where I was like, she is clearly not a reliable narrator, because even if that kind of stuff happens sometime in real life, it's not as bad as that. That was like pushed to like 2000. That was made in purpose because I think at that point they really wanted you to understand you cannot trust Nina as a character on what she's
Oh yeah.
experiencing.
Oh yeah. No, she's like visioning like everything in the worst like light. It's like just like her hell.
So at first, I also liked the dinner scene with the mean girl. That was actually interesting. Just before she accepted the drink. Uh, Now, after that, the morning after that, when the mean girl says the truth of what happened, and saying, "Oh, you had a wet dream," I think that was the best way to tell us that whatever we have seen in the bedroom never really happened. And I was like, okay, that makes sense more now. Now I kind of understand why she doesn't have a boyfriend, even if she is pretty. Like, in fact, she's more into women. So I think that was a very interesting part of that movie. Um, Later on, uh, we see the anxiety rising with Nina when she realized Thomas may replace her. But here again, it's not sure if it's Nina or if it's the truth. But I'm assuming that was actually Nina imagining things because there was that parallel with the girl that had an accident or something. So probably,
Bella, I believe that's her name, or Belle, or something.
yeah. Uh, the climax with the bloody hospital scene was interesting. Now you see the main character is really breaking apart at that point, and this is from that scene until the end. I think the movie was at its peak. It was really, really good. The failure of the character on stage, and the main character psychosis that ended into a murder. I marked on this because I thought she really killed someone, but then after that you realize she actually stabbed herself, and she never really killed anybody. But that whole notes I took made that movie really stands out. I think the ending of the movie was really the best part of it. Like the last like 20 minutes when everything gets crazy. It reminded me of like the wrestler and stuff, so I really like that aspect of it. And when you find out
Yeah.
that she never really killed someone, but she just ended up injuring herself, like getting injured by her own end, that was very
And
interesting.
probably dying as well. I mean, if the again, it's not like shown, but if we can just like probably put the pieces together with the wrestler and Black Swan, like, I mean, there's like, yeah, the light, at the end of this one, and then just the cut off screen in the other, so kind of hints at that. But yeah, and shows that like, yeah, she basically turned into the other girl earlier in the film. He got in an accident, basically
And
turned into that mindset.
she is her worst enemy, and that reflects well the movie.
Yeah, and it
So
also hints also at like near the beginning of the film how it's just was like so again took on the same role and was like so like how do I say intrigued by the other girl when before getting into the accident took her like makeup as well. It's like transforming into her mindset and like how she went insane basically.
I think that ending was really good. Uh, with that ending, that makes up for the rough start, and I think this is all you can find a movie interesting and being worthy. Like sometimes you're like that movie is meh, and then you come up with the great climax, and then boom, sorry about that, and then boom, you realize that movie was actually well done. Um, so yeah, um, what would be your grade for Black Swan?
And I would give this at least a 9 out of 10, maybe a 9.5.
So I cannot forget about the start of the movie, and that really dragged down the grade a lot for me, and the few issues here and there. I think I would give this movie 8 out of 10. I remember liking the wrestler much more, and I think among all of the 8 out of 10 I marked down, I think this is somewhere in the center, in the middle. I think it's better than Glass Onion for sure.
Dragons. Yeah, and the Mummy.
Yeah, The Mummy as well. Actually, The Mummy I was more entertained by it, but
Yeah.
on a writing standpoint, Black Swan is better. But on entertainment value, Mummy is. Depends on where you look at, you know. So yeah, 8 out of
Yeah.
10. Any closing thoughts on Black Swan?
Um, no, that's about it. I will say though, yeah. Cast was the whole cast was excellent. Yeah, a lot of A-list actors who got limited screen time in it. So yeah, really stacked cast. Yeah, the score was fantastic as well. The music really added to the emotions, and yeah, all I'll say really is I hope the whale when we see it, well, when it comes out, is as great as this and the wrestler, and kind of like the same sort of thing, which I heard it is. So
The music was
excited.
actually good. I didn't mention it, but I didn't mind. Usually, I don't like.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask if the musical scenes would bother you.
I I don't like that type of music they use throughout the movie, but I didn't mark it on my dislike or my like, so I didn't mind the music. I think it was fitting for the movie, but I'm not a big fan of the score. But it's not a bad score either. It's just fine. I think music wise, that was fine.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, anyway, yeah. So I guess we can move on to Legion.
What did you think of the second season?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Like the first as well. They're kind of indifferent for me. At least after I first watched them. Yeah. So, or I really love the just the storyline with like David going down that path of evil. It's just so intriguing and just all the batshit crazy moments. Like like the first had that as well, but the second one, God, they really upped the notch in my opinion with the craziness as well, especially in like just the first episode and like, uh, yeah, I definitely really love it. Acting was it was a splendid job there again as well. The directing I thought was an improvement in this. Thought the camera work in the first season was good, but could have been better. But I thought it was definitely an improvement in this one. Uh, Visuals were definitely an improvement as well. I will say the editing I did think was probably better in the first one, but yeah, that's and maybe the music, but
I
that's
agree with the
about it.
music. Season one
Yeah,
had the best score.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I really I thought it was great as well, though. Yeah, what did you think of it?
I was actually very surprised. I remember liking the entire show overall, but I was surprised how close it came off. How close from season one it was for me. And it's very interesting because, as you said, in season one, he did some hero stuff and he did some more gray stuff because at first you're like, he's not in control. He's dancing when he's killing people in season one, but in fact that was the Shadow King controlling him. So you cannot really in season one say that's David being a villain. But then by the end of season two, we relive that scene under another lens. I think season two was very different because it gave other lens to David character, and you explain David character through other characters. In season one, it was all about David, but I feel like in season two, it was all about the entire cast around David reacting to David slowly turning into a villain. And at first, at the start of the season, you could say David is still a good guy. And in fact, he was, because when the season started, there were no proof of him having villainous intent. He wasn't scheming to backstab anybody. It's more like his decision he took by the end of the season that really turned him into a villain. Because at first, he thought he was doing the right thing. And you cannot blame him because if the Shadow King made him kill people, then the Shadow King is the villain, you know? And it's funny how they flip on your head the fact that this time around, the hero is turning into a villain and the previous villain is turning into a hero. And at first, when you just get to meet the Shadow King, you're like, he is a great villain. But then you realize he's more of a great character. As the story progresses, he becomes some kind of line of defense. And it's also interesting how they use time travel in a weird way. Usually,
Oh,
I'm
I
not.
agree with that.
I'm not the biggest fan of time travel, but I think in this show it worked because they made it work in a way where we have the multiverse. They explained the multiverse, and there was an entire episode that was dedicated to the multiverse. And that episode was a great character study for David and what made him into a hero or a villain in some cases. So I think that season had a lot of good things in it. But I will admit, one of this season's biggest sin is the pacing. I feel like they could have trimmed down some episode, and even the overall season. I feel like maybe 10 episodes instead of 11. I'm not saying that there is an entire episode filler. What I'm saying is when you put together the episodes, you could trim down enough so you end up with 10 episodes instead of 11. So there was no filler this season, but I feel like parts of some of the episode felt like filler. And this is where like the pacing issues was for me. Because in a lot of the notes I have, a lot of episode, the only issue I had with was the pacing. It kept coming back like almost half of the time. Um, Sometimes it's minor stuff like plot armor. People cannot freaking aim because the plot wants this character to be alive, you know. But that's a minor thing. But outside of that, like pacing is really the biggest issue for me. But I still enjoy the fact that there's a slow descent for David as a character. And I think this character did justice for the supporting cast. Because as much as it's a story about David turning into a villain, it's also a story about how people around him react to this. What would be your favorite episode this season?
Honestly, it's been a little bit since I finished watching that season, so I don't know if I quite remember, but it would probably be maybe. Hold on, let me. I need to look up on IMDb quickly to know what the. If I know the name of the episode, then I know which one I'm gonna be talking about, but I believe it's kind of like the one with like those visuals I really liked. Which was that again? Right, it was chapter 14. I really loved, and then also the finale was also pretty sick, and yeah, even the first episode, and then yeah, I would say the first, third, sixth, and 11th episodes were my favorite, and probably the sixth episode is my favorite one out of the bunch.
Episode 6 was the multiverse one. I liked that one a lot. Even if I
Yeah.
liked it a lot, that's the one I feel like the pacing was the worst. 'Cause I feel like they could have trimmed down maybe 5 to 10 minutes of that episode.
Yeah.
Even
You
if the,
see, I'm used to long runtime, so I was cool with it.
but I still like that episode a lot. So you see, this season did improve on a lot of aspects, but I still feel like it's a very, very small step down. And what is very interesting, I remember all the third season start and ends, but I can't really remember the parts in between. But what's very interesting about season 2, David is not the only reason why he is turning evil. Like, in the very end of the 11th episode, when he is fully becoming the villain, it's because of people not really trusting or being with him. They were against him, even if they say they want to help him. What they were doing there with that trial, that wasn't helping him. They are the ones that really drove him into madness, you know. And even if they had the best of intention, it ended up like creating the villain. They ended up like creating the villain at the end. Now, even if he had that inside of him, they pushed him away. Even if they said that they want to help and stuff, they didn't realize what they were doing wasn't helping. It feels like they misunderstood what kind of help David had, and there was a very interesting foreshadowing about Sydney and David breakup. I think it was like episode 7 or 8, just before David ran off to find Farouk on his own, the Shadow King, basically. That was the guy with the cane. He was speaking with Sydney, and he was saying, "What would happen if a god lost love or something like that? What a breakup would do to a god." I forgot the exact dialogue, but that was a great foreshadowing of one of the reasons why uh, David is really turning into a villain. So even Mallory, like when she reveals all these scenes, and that brings another uh, lens to the David character, villain or good or stuff. That was a
So
great
yeah,
moment.
and I will say there were people I heard say like they didn't quite understand why, like, well, that's like what made him a villain, kind of in the end, pretty much like what reasons for it. But I don't really understand those critiques because I mean, if you know the character, you know, like it makes perfect sense. Like that's what would push him over the edge.
Yeah, yeah, they pushed him over the edge. So they, first of all, Sydney disappears, and he's willing to do anything it takes to save Sydney, and he tortured people. So that's one bad thing he did. But even there, at that point, he's more of an anti-hero. He's not a full-fledged villain yet. It's really when he breaks out and he leaves with someone else that he becomes a villain. And it's very funny how they got scared and their first option was to gas him, just like in season 1. So I was like, man, they're quick to gas. And it's very interesting how the Shadow King doesn't really uh, hate David. Like, you could feel at some extent the Shadow King by the end of the second season, he feels sorry for David, and it's interesting because he used to be the big bad, he used to be the villain the first season, you know, and he is one of the many reasons why David became a villain, you know, like the fact that now he is the ally and he feels sorry for David. I think it's just great character growth. They really flip on our head David as a character this season, and it made sense. They also flipped the Shadow King, and it made sense as well. So I think these are great aspects of this second season. Anything else you'd like to add to season 2 before we move on to the grades?
No, that's about it.
Now, I will admit it, the music, man. The music, I like it a lot. The score in season 1 was better, but I still enjoyed the crap out of the music. It was really good music, and they were smart about it. And I also like a lot how they fleshed out Lenny as a character, and she's not really a part of David. She's really a character of her own. And now she's haunted by David's sister the same way Lenny was haunting David at some extent in season one. I think that parallel is really, really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I liked it a lot. Lenny as a character has become much more interesting with the second season. I think everyone is well casted, and we really see like David and Sydney like choosing different paths, and them like separating each other was felt. You understood why, and it made sense. It wasn't just for drag on some useless romance, you know. It was just how some relationship end, and I think that was very interesting. It was well done, and I will miss that relationship. You know, I think they were a good match, but even there, they were a good match because they didn't fully know each other. But by the end of the season, they fully knew each other, and at that point, that's when they no more work well together. And this is how some relationship ends. That's very realistic. Even if it's a sci-fi TV show, I think this is one of the best TV shows to describe relationship between characters. I think this show has a lot of depth, and I just enjoyed the travel a lot. So, what would be the grade you would give to season two?
Give it an 8.
So this time around, I gave a 9.5 out of 10. The first season was a 9.7. For me, that minus two
Well, actually, hold on. What did I give the first season again?
8.
8. Okay. Yeah, I'd give this one an 8 as well, but I will say I might boost both of them up to an 8.5, if I rewatch them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are still some things I need to, like, understand a bit more from them, because it is a bit confusing in some areas.
It's I think these writers behind the show are doing good job at crafting the story and the characters. I think it like story wise and characters wise, these are like peak comic book, I think. But I think the execution is where it falls short a little bit. I think some of the things could be done better, uh, like
For
the
sure.
pacing.
Yeah. I mean, there's only one more season after this, right?
Yeah, and that was a 3 season plans, and that's what they
Nice.
wanted from the start. So we will have the last season, and it won't feel like a canceled show. It will be the true ending of the show, and I I remember liking a lot the ending of the show. And even there, on my first watch, I don't remember understanding as well the show as I do right now because I was younger and I wasn't that critical and I was just turning off my brain just to watch something, you know? But now I try to understand the characters, the story, the world they live in, and with that, man, that's just a great trip. So, what do you expect from that final season?
Um, as long as it's as excellent as the first two, that's all I care about. Now for expectations, honestly, I don't really have many. I'm kind of cool with whatever they do because what I wanted them to do in season, like mid after the midway point of season one, all the way to the end of season two, they did. So I'm happy now. So whatever they do next is kind of just a bonus.
And it's very interesting how it's the only comic book TV show I know about where the main characters start off as being somewhat good, then gray, and then full on villain. So I think it's very creative, and they were able to do that with good writing. Not just because they wanted this to happen, they really crafted well, and they plant the seeds, and these seeds grow, and these seeds makes makes a really good story at the end. Um, I think Disney will never do something as good, even if they do a new Legion TV show, because Legion is a comic book
That they
character.
never will.
Yeah, if they ever do one, I don't see Disney the way they are today being able to make a show this good, because the identity of what they are doing, it's not really like, it doesn't let freedom to the writer. It's like there's a formula. You need to be funny. You need to be family friendly, because now apparently Daredevil will be aimed at a younger audience, which makes no sense for me. Like, okay, maybe the comics are for everyone, but the Netflix TV show was so good. So why do you try to fix something that wasn't broken at the first place? Well, you're Disney, so you see everything you didn't do as broken. So, like, when they will do a new Legion TV show, it will be funny to rewatch this Legion TV show and place it side by side with the next Legion TV show and say, "Oh, bad, Disney is doing their work," you know? So, yeah, I enjoy a lot Legion. Season 2, even if I didn't like it as much as season 1, I still think it's a classic for me. Like, people that watch TV shows, comic book TV shows, they need to see that one. Um, so yeah, anything else to add on Legion?
No, that's about it.
So, are you into The Witcher?
Uh, I watched the first season and I then fell off after that, and I heard it's getting abysmal ratings now.
So I bring that because I've heard they did Blood Origin, a prequel to The Witcher, and this one is really bad. And the videos around it looks more interesting than the show. I asked because I know it's also a video game, and I've heard you're about video game in the past, so I was like, maybe he's more in The Witcher than me. The drama
Um,
around it is funny.
so you mean you're talking about Blood Origin?
Yeah.
Witcher Blood Origin, yeah, it is one of the lowest Netflix shows in history. It actually, I think, is the lowest. It is getting trashed on.
By everyone, even the
Said you
critics.
can,
Even the
yeah,
critics
but no,
cannot stand
the
it.
game, the games are fire. They're definitely worth playing for sure if you're into them. Definitely masterful. But as for the shows, the Netflix shows, I mean, the original Netflix show of Henry Cavill, at least the first season, it isn't excellent or amazing, and it isn't bad. It's more just solid, and then the next seasons after that, season 2 and season 3 are kind of just decent. So yeah, it's a fine show. But yeah, the writers kept ruining it more and more.
So,
I mean, it was kind of funny though that one time the fucking Corderin was like, "Oh, the woke writers ruined the show," and then one of the writers of The Witcher responded to him, and
really?
then they ended up doing an interview on YouTube and becoming chill. It's like with it all, like, oh my god, like imagine,
That's a funny one. Now now that
yeah.
now that's funny because do you know, like, you know Ezra Miller? Everybody does. Do you know Ezra Miller?
Oh yeah, that crazy son of a bitch. Yeah,
Assaulting people.
yeah.
Apparently, they will keep him in the DC extended universe coming in the future if he doesn't do jail time. How do you feel
What
about that?
is that? What James Gunn said?
That's what I've seen. Many people are saying he's cheaper. So they basically fired Cavill and Ben Affleck because they cost too much.
Well,
And
no, it's not just that. It's just like what they think the best fit is. But I mean, Really, Ezra Miller's? I'm sorry, he was terrible as the Flash. No, maybe if he's away from that bad script, but no, like holy fuck.
They will keep him if he doesn't go in jail. They will keep him apparently.
Yeah, please no, he was terrible. I'm sure just a decision hasn't really been made yet. I don't know who these reports are, but they're the same reports who said shit like that Henry Cavill is coming back, Ben Affleck is going to be the permanent Batman in the new universe. So, I mean, I wouldn't trust them. The only one who really knows reports right now are James Gunn and Peter Safran, or whatever his name is. And unless they answer it themselves, yeah, I wouldn't trust any rumors because it goes through them right now, and that's it.
So, as we said it earlier, this one will be a bit shorter than the usual. Any closing thoughts or any closing topic or anything?
I mean, not quite, but yeah, again, we were gonna review another film, but yeah, the stream for it online wasn't working properly. But yeah, what I will say is I won't recommend it the next week or whatnot. What I will say instead is just try to find other sites to watch it on in your spare time when you want to try to watch it again, and whenever you end up finding one where it works and you can watch it on, then we'll do it the for that week that you watch it on.
Yeah, that sounds like a
Yeah.
plan. So next
Yes.
week.
Yeah, so just let me know whenever that is, which could be next week, could be in like 3 weeks, just whenever you are able to watch it. But
Yeah,
and then if that happens, then I mean, I guess either we can do 3 films if you want, or if you end up watching the other two already, or we'll just not watch one of the films. Like we can like hold off of V for Vendetta or something that week if you watch it this week. So yeah, just
so
whenever.
next week, which day is best for you?
We can do it Tuesday. Tuesday's fine. I'll be able to finish Legion on that day.
Perfect. That sounds great. I cannot wait to cover Legion last season next week. So far, I enjoyed the trip a lot. The first 2 seasons are a really, really good
Yeah, I
start.
definitely enjoy these type of shows more than stuff like Titans. Like even if Titans was like good to me, I'm not a huge fan of that style, but I'm a big fan of Legion style.
Titan is Titan is just really bad. It's like fast food for like you go to fast food, you eat, that's it. But Legion is like making your own food. It's like better food.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of a good comparison, honestly.
Yeah. So thank you again for coming. As usual, I had a blast. You are doing a great job as co-host. We always have great stream. Thank you very much for your time. I will let you do other stuff. And Tuesday, 5:30 Eastern, or a bit later, or I cannot earlier because I have my course earlier. So the earliest I can do is 5:30. But yeah, 5:30 is it good for you, or we can do
Yeah,
it at
yeah,
six?
that's good. That's good for me.
Okay, perfect, man. Thank you very much again. If it's not done yet, guys and girls, like, comment, and subscribe. You can also go take a look to Cole channel in the description below. So with that being said, I hope everyone enjoyed. I wish you all a great day, and Cole, take care, man. See you Tuesday.
You too. Yep. See.